Hazelight Studios follows up its previous two co-op masterworks with another split-screen action platformer that always manages to keep things fresh. You know you're doing pretty good when, as a studio, the toughest competition you face is your last game. Such is the case with Hazelight Studios, who has consistently proven that there's plenty of life left in split-screen co-op, played both online and locally, with not one, but two multiplayer exclusive classics. Josef Fares and his team had everything to lose by revisiting this territory once again with Split Fiction, yet by doubling down on varietal gameplay, well-rounded characters, and beautiful level design, its latest two-player adventure is also far and away its best. The first thing I came to appreciate about Split Fiction is just how quickly it drops us into the meat of the story. Mio and Zoe are two aspiring writers who rock up to a publishing house seeking to help perfect a new reality-breaking technology, only it isn't long before both find themselves trapped in the insanely real simulations of each other's stories and are forced to work together in order to break out. The setup might be painfully simple, yet it's more than made up for by the slow burn that is Mio and Zoe's eventual understanding of their partner's not-so-rosy circumstances. The two start off as chalk and cheese purposefully by design, with Mio's hard exterior gradually being whittled down by Zoe's more gleeful worldview in a way that is narratively satisfying.
Okay then, let's go save the world and find that glitch.
Obviously, the main reason any pair of players comes to a Hazelight game is, well, for the gameplay, and in this aspect Split Fiction doesn't disappoint. Because while Zoe's fantasy stories and Mio's preference for sci-fi are a good excuse for set dressing, the truth is that the number of times the manner of gameplay changes over the 12 or so hours isn't limited by one simple theme. One minute you can be speedboating your way through a sewer system in chase of a giant squid, while the next you're trying to cook your new sausage self to an ideal temperature and enter a nearby bun in the hopes of creating the perfect hot dog. At least once per hour, Split Fiction made my jaw drop as a result of the scenario me and my partner were dropped into next. Just as interesting as the main narrative, however, are the handful of side stories littered about each chapter. They serve as bite-sized sections that tend to experiment with far odder mechanics and presentation styles I get the sense that Hazelight didn't fully believe could work as their own gameplay sections. Even still, all are worth seeking out, not least because of the additional character development tidbits they provide, as well as the way they offer a welcome respite to the overarching main story. Had I not sniffed out every side story I could, I'd never have known what it was like to ride a sand shark through a desert or race my partner to save a prince from the 2D perspective of a children's sketchbook. Most are thankfully obvious to bump into, which is a nice improvement over It Takes Two, where a lot of the side content was at times a little bit too tucked away. If there's one downfall to Split Fiction's nature to regularly shake up gameplay, it's the very few instances where a new mechanic or mode of play is introduced that requires failure to fully understand. A rare example of this comes in the game's fourth chapter, where Mio and Zoe are embarking on a space rescue mission of sorts that sees them able to blast projectiles, third-person shooter style. Most puzzles and challenges in this chapter are color-coded red and blue, which made most easy to understand. Eventually though, robots with shields are introduced that require the use of bombs on the ground to take down. The tit-for-tat solution that required us to work together ultimately set in, but not before a few frustrating deaths. Luckily, while they do pop up, these instances being so few makes them easy to forgive. Then there's Split Fiction's overall story, which never really leaps fully beyond the realm of the cliche, as several tropes are hit upon. Whenever the end of a chapter cut back to the evil businessman Raider taunting our heroes, I found myself counting down the seconds until the next creative gameplay section would begin. Thankfully, I never had to wait too long, but it is a shame that the bedrock supporting Split Fiction's absolutely stellar twists on traditional platforming, shooting, and yes, flying couldn't have been a tad less predictable.
No, don't mind her. I just wrote her as a flat, greedy villain.
Mio and Zoe's growth really is where much of the focus is given, to the extent that you can guarantee heartstrings will be pulled upon a couple times before you roll credits. Speaking of which, I'm loath to mention the true nature of Split Fiction's final surprise in this review for fear of spoilers, but it wouldn't be hyperbolic to say that what Hazelight asks of you in the game's last act is nothing short of spectacular. It almost makes everything you've played and done up until this point somewhat of a warm-up act, truly speaking, and come its end, I no longer had questions about why Split Fiction is exclusively available on current-gen console platforms this time around, in addition to PC. That said, while this latter aspect might disappoint players still on PS4 and Xbox One, it's at least fantastic to see Hazelight once again make its split-screen co-op adventure even more accessible thanks to the returning Friend Pass system, which this time around supports full crossplay in addition to requiring just one person to own the game. Split Fiction might not be quite as revolutionary a prospect as the leap made from A Way Out to It Takes Two. However, by delivering almost unparalleled variety across its 8 distinct chapters, layering in worthwhile side stories that range from the thrilling to the absurd, and emphasizing teamwork and communication in a way few other multiplayer experiences are able, Hazelight's third attempt to dazzle with cooperative split screen succeeds, and then some. I already can't wait to jump back in for a playthrough again with a friend as the character I didn't play as before, so I can discover and enjoy all the other mechanical nuances I missed. We at Mirror Gaming give Split Fiction a 5 out of 5. Do you plan on picking this one up? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel to stay up to date with even more videos like this. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.